Hello everyone, my name is Anumita and I'm an iOS engineer working at Circles Live. Today I'll be speaking about backend driven UI and DLS. First of all, I would really like to thank Swift community for giving me this opportunity. Let's walk through the content of the talk. We'll start with discussing what does DLS mean, what is backend driven UI, what are the key components of backend driven UI, and then we'll see a short demo and followed by discussion on what are the benefits of this setup. So let's start with what does DLS mean. DLS stands for Design Language System. It is a collection of reusable components guided by some set of rules and standards. This set of rules, constraints, and principles not only helps in defining the appearance but also in streamlining the behavior throughout the wide range of your company's product. These principles are binded together by design and code system. This is the source of truth of your system. When a company grows, the team might need to iterate over the features more quickly. One team might be divided into multiple smaller teams, and each might be handling a different platform of your company. This opens the window of inconsistency across the platform if there is no guidelines defined. Here is where DLS helps in defining the single source of truth that allows you to have scalable UI language and also streamline the UX guidelines. DLS is a system that consists of code, your design programs, and a documentation where we can keep the mapping of what design and what codes are mapped together. Also, DLS is an iterative process. It grows with your project. Whenever there is a new use case introduced, your team should think about the scalability and then design it accordingly. So if you have to handle the same use case from some other point in your application, it should be flexible enough to be reusable in your project. And the key principles of DLS is to increase the efficiency and consistency and also enhance the scalability of your project. This diagram pretty much defines the basic building blocks of DLS. It has some of the key identities, principles, and best practices which when combined together form some reusable components and patterns. These components and patterns are maintained by the designers and developers to make best use of it in order to deliver the quality products in the most optimized product timeline. So is this something new? No. So if you look back in 1975, NASA defined a NASA graphic manual in which they have documented everything from color coding to iconography to the components and structure of their spaceship. Next, in 2000, Apple introduced Aqua. During the talk, Steve Shaw mentioned that the design intended to make the user feel like licking the view when they see the UI. So it's very interesting to see how the team has very well thought through the use cases to give the Mac users a clean UI and a seamless experience. If you observe, even the controls and the behavior are intact today, like 20 years after it first got introduced. In 2011, Bootstrap added a very important toolkit for quickly designing and customizing responsive mobile-first sites. It was a boom in the world of web technology. In 2013, Brad Frost introduced a very interesting methodology called atomic design. It consists of atoms, molecules, organisms, templates, and pages when concurrently put together to create effective interface design system. And finally, in 2014, Google launched Material Design. And post this launch, all of the Google products from YouTube to Gmail and etc. started to follow these guidelines. And it was a huge milestone for a design language system. And then, since then, it has gained a wide popularity in most of the companies. So, why is DLS important? Seeing the history of these companies defining their own DLS, we can agree that these are beneficial as your companies grows. So let us look at some of the benefits of those. The reusable components that you have created in your design language can be assembled together to build any number of applications. Say if you want to publish a new application for your target users to upsell one of your product, then it would be best if the user can seamlessly onboard your new application, taking the learning from your existing app's behavior. It can be done if you have a common single source of truth. Next, it gives a suite of product a unique but consistent look and feel. It not only helps to retain customers, but also helps in increasing the customer happiness and satisfaction. It helps in raising confidence and familiarity of your product with the users. And followed by some of the company goals where designers can focus more on the right user experience and making the UI more meaningful, and engineers can focus on more on infrastructure, performance, etc. So next, let us look at some of the examples of companies who have implemented DLS. So there are many companies who have set their design language guidelines, but few of the companies like Airbnb, Spotify, Gojek, Atlassian, etc. has made their design language system open to community. These are some inspiring projects, and you should do check out these sites if this interests you. So what are the right time to define a DLS for your project? To be honest, in my opinion, it depends on your project or company's vision and guideline. If you're working in a small team, then probably having a small documentation can be your source of truth. It can definitely be a costly process for a fast-growing company, but it's worth the cost as you'll see the benefit in long term when you're able to scale your product at faster speed. So how do we get started? To begin with, you should first try to standardize the basic elements like color, the typography, the sizing and spacing metrics, and then start creating reusable components and widgets. This might not be straightforward. It requires a set of dedicated team, which consists of designers and developers, and a set of timeline for yourself. Next, let's look what is backend driven UI. Take an example of John, who is an iOS developer, and Mr. Manager, who coordinates between the designers, product, and developer teams. So this is the current application. It has 3 tabs, and the first tab consists of an image banner followed by a dynamic height text view. So one day, Mr. Manager comes to John and gives a requirement of adding a referral card in their application. As per the discussion, John have to add a new referral card just after the text view. John clarifies all the requirement and gives an estimated delivery date. After that, John picks up the task. He creates the UI, he performs the dev testing, he does the regression test, and he gives demo to the team. He uploads the app, the build to apps for App Store review, does the sanity test, and then makes the app live and informs the manager that it's in production now. After a few days, Mr. Manager comes back to John and says that there is a new requirement of moving the referral card just below the image banner, and explains that they want to increase the visibility of the card as the number of people landing on this page versus number of clicks happening on this card are a bit off. John clarifies all the requirement once again and gives the estimate delivery date. Now John again updates the UI, performs the dev testing, gets the regression test done, and gives demo to the team, followed by uploading the build for the review, and gets the sanity test done and makes the app live. So Mr. Manager, after seeing all the stats, come back to John and says, hey, this really worked out for us. Can we add this card on the other 2 pages as well? So John says, glad to know that it worked out for us, but I'm in middle of some engineering task right now. Can I pick it up as soon as I complete this task? So manager says that he understands that he's working on some other thing, but product wants to prioritize this thing because they have some plans around it. So John understands the scenario and agrees to pick it up first. That night, John started brainstorming. If there was any way by which the team can avoid doing repetitive work, if a new app release can be avoided for small changes, and if the product team can update such small changes on the fly with minimum dev effort requirement. While searching about ways to solve this issue, he came to know about DLS. He understood that if he can standardize the basic UI elements, it can significantly improve the quality of release and also reduce the development time. And when these things are standardized, they can be defined, they can be reused to define reusable components and widgets. And then he also came to know about the concept of driving your UI from backend. The most important thing, of course, would be to have a reusable widgets and component defined in your application, and then backend can drive what widget should be shown on which page. And then by having a separate tool for the product team to control the content of the team, it would make the go live dates much more faster. And voila, I think John has found the solution of most of his issues. So John has shared his code with us. Let's quickly see how he is able to add the widgets on multiple pages. He has created a base table view controller. He has done all the table view setup in the base view controller, and then he has used this one in two other screens. For demo screen 1, this is tab 1 and the tab 2. So, and also for the UI part, he has already added the referral card and the bottom as per the requirement. So let us see now how could the other two process be faster if we have everything driven from backend. So for demo purpose, I have taken the JSON response. I've mocked it. So basically, if you see the view, it says there is an image on the top. Right now, I just picked up from the resource. So actually, it can be a image URL, and there is some tile text. It has the title, it has subtitle. Similarly, we have description, and then as John created this referral card, it is another type of component with us, and it has some data and text. So similarly, for the other screen, we have a demo data screen too. Okay, so let's first try to shift the image banner just below the image, the referral card just below the image. So as you can see, this is the response, and this is a widget type list, so everything will be populated one below the other. So from the backend side, you just need to update the position of the object, and you can just rebuild the app again, and you'll see that the card has moved up with no app side changes requirement. It is just the posture that is changing. Similarly, if we want to add this card to the second screen, right now it's uh, it doesn't have the referral card. So if I want to add it after my image, again I can just add it here and run the code again. So here it is. So it's so simple, so easy. So along with this widgets, you can also have an action object in it, and then on tapping on this button, the action object can decide what to do, whether to take user to a different page out of the app or perform some sharing of code. So uh, this is pretty much it. Once you have the components drawn or defined inside, you can just make it uh, controlled by the backend. So I hope this helps, and let's move to the next topic now. Let us discuss what are the key components of backend driven UI. First of all, we'll need a well-defined widgets and components in a way DLS for your mobile system, both for a mobile, Android and iOS. Next, we need a backend service, an aggregation and transformation layer. This middle layer helps to aggregate the data from upstream services and transform the data in the form of widgets and component to be sent to the mobile. Next, we'll need an understanding between the designers and developers to reuse the components instead of creating an exhausting list. Fourth, it's optional, a platform or UI which is closer to the product team to add defined widgets in other pages and also change the layout of the widgets and components on the fly. So what are the benefits of having a middle layer, also known as the backend for front-end layer? It is a single API to render the complete page. In companies with microservices and even otherwise, there might be a scenario when in order to render your one page, you need to call multiple API calls. Having the BFF layer can help in reducing the calls to just to one, and internally the microservices can communicate to each other to fetch the data, which means lesser load time as we can avoid passing the multiple calls via the API gateway, and the service internally can generate a faster response, which in turn gives us more opportunity of control and graceful error handling. And there would be less logic on app side as there would be less hard coding for the text or any of the deep links or URLs. Followed by there would be it would really be helpful in localization if it can be supported directly from backend, and no more app releases required to change any data, for example text changes or some A/B testing. Next, how do we map the backend and UI configurations? So it's really important to have the understanding of the widgets and components by both the platform, and also the widget can be rendered via different ways, maybe as a view controller or as a collection view or table view cell, or as a view in a stack view. So it totally depends on your use cases. So let's take an example, like for a widget, there it is the layout here. So they define the way a component will be laid in your view. So it can be a list, a carousel, a grid, or any number of different layouts that as per your requirement. And then the view, then the component is the view here, where you can set the data, you can set some action, what happens when the user taps on it, or so. This is a simple view which is backend driven. We have a title of the widget, we have the type which says that it's a list, it is having everything one followed by another, and the view inside, which is the component, has an image banner, and when you tap on it, it opens up another deep link. So once again, thank you Swift community for this opportunity, and thank you everyone for listening to this talk. Hope this helped you to understand the basics of server-driven UI and DLS. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this topic during the Q&A session. Thanks again.